What's up? Welcome to another episode of Feed the Trolls. And today we have one of my favorites in the mix. Zeus is joining us for this topic that I had an idea about. And the more I've thought about it, the more it just isn't going to work, right? Because I wanted to do a tier list of the best IGLs currently. But realistically, if you were going to do a tier list, it would just be like the top 3, top 4 teams in their IGLs. Because I would argue that a good IGL wins stuff, right? I mean, that's their job. But before we get into that, let's just like reverse back because I think it was in episode 5 of this show we had Sponge on, and I asked him at the time what makes a good IGL, and I figured that might actually be a good start for us, gents. So Zeus, I'll give this one to you first. In your opinion, what makes a good IGL?
Well, many factors, obviously. I think inherently you have to know about Counter-Strike. You have to have experience to be an IGL. So you have to have a voice that people are going to respect. You have to have accolades normally most of the time, unless you're a team that's growing up together and doing it together and you're figuring it out, right? So to be an IGL, you have to have one, like you said. And after that, you have to be able to convey your message in a way that gets your team to buy into you, but also not lose focus on actually what's worthwhile, which is fighting to win, being able to gather the troops, whichever fucking way it is, right? So a leader just needs to be able to have a good social awareness and understanding of where he is, who he's playing with, that you have to deal with people through different layers. Sometimes you're going to talk to someone who understands things a little bit more technologically, let's say, right? Or another one, you're going to have to be a little bit more anecdotal and talk about life in the way to understand and explain things. So it's being able to convey things to different people in different ways at different places in time. It sounds philosophical, but it actually is what it is. Like when you stop to think about it, you just have to be able to express and meet them where they are now and in a way that gets them to see it. And then on top of that, you go into what's actually really nice about it. The competition, the Counter-Strike, how these normally the best leaders, now you have the buy-in. How do you view the game differently that actually you will set a trend? You won't just mimic what's going on. When you say winning, I count history, right? Perspective, longer periods of time when you're winning, when you've created a formula that's replicable and people can emulate that to an extent, but they'll never fully understand you if they weren't there through the process with you to create it. So in a summarization, yeah, it's a lot simpler than it is, but it's a steady progress that you have to execute every day. That makes a good leader. It's something simple to do. It's hard to maintain over a long period of time, and it's hard to get that respect other than with good accolades.
For you, I mean, Thorin, obviously jumping off the back of what Zeus said, have you got anything to add in terms of what you as an analyst would look for in a good IGL?
Yeah, I will say, obviously, I'm not coming from like the in-game aspect. I'm just like looking at when I think of the great teams and the teams that had good tactics and the team was controlled. I actually think one thing he's nailing there is that it's not any one thing and there's not like one metric. Like people will make the mistake of thinking it's just like how smart are you or how many tactics do you know? Whereas like actually, there's even some really, I think some amazing tacticians who sometimes that's actually the flaws. That's all they have. I'll give you an obvious example when people are getting upset about this clip where AleksiB was like frustrated with him and he's almost sort of saying, well, you should have fuck up called over all my calls. Like, that's a sign that, like, look, he has all the fucking know-how, but he hasn't got control over his team necessarily. Maybe that guy, like, doesn't respect his call or he's trying to like help and add in. So I would actually say one of the things for me is he should have a very coherent identity as a caller, because I think every great team takes on some of the qualities of the leader in the team. So like things like you have to have some tactical know-how, but it doesn't have to be the deepest necessarily. It's more like, do you have a style? Do you have an approach that works and it's like coherent? So when people join your team, they learn your system, they learn your protocols, your style, and then they can play the game. Sometimes that could be quite loose protocols, obviously. Like people have seen in karrigan teams, for example, if he has all the international stars, he clearly doesn't micromanage them. He just sort of does the really smart mid-round between them or does things between the rounds or whatever. So I would say like it's different for each team, but I do think there is like an overlap generally of things you need. And I also think as well, by the way, that last thing I touched on there is probably the most underrated one, which is who is actually like emotionally a leader, like you're saying, who has social awareness, who can like control a group of people. Because I would say, if from my experience, I will take a few points less in the tactics department if you have more of that aspect. Like I'd actually say in the modern day, people aren't actually thinking karrigan really is doing the most genius brand new strat of his brain, but everyone thinks he has the best control. Like you just see when his teams are in form, it's why they can just do things in like major playoffs and no one else can do. Because if you tell like an experienced team of players to do that, it's not the same figure leading you. So yeah, I would say to me, it's like you should actually be like essentially I could say you should be a very developed figure yourself. It's why, by the way, as an aside, I think think we're all so critical of new people to the role, because even if they come in with smart ideas or they can call a little bit or read the game, they might have one or two of the elements, but they clearly aren't fully finished and formed. And it's why actually I think they go through such a hard time in the first 6 to 10 months.
Do you think that there is like a lack of new IGLs coming up though? Because we see, I mean, we saw Device Tranquil for Astralis, obviously Twistzz at Liquid. Like it feels like there is the top players, if you like, feel like there isn't enough good talent coming up. Or do you think it's just a matter of maybe some of these pro players, Zeus, feel like they understand what an IGL needs to do because they've worked with some of the greats?
Yeah, I mean, it's rough to say from the outside. I do think that there are some IGLs that are up and coming. One that I had my eye that recently has been confirmed. Like, I didn't have my eye on too much. I don't want to like overdo it. People will get stuck on, oh, it was that player, it was that. But it was like Maka. He was someone that was brought up.
Okay,
and we were going to look into him, right? So I had him on the list. And recently, I see him. He's doing well. Another one that's kind of out of the box that I see is doing well is like Mutiris, right, from Portugal. I like to keep an eye on the regions, how they're doing. I think that over his entire career, he's been there like long time. He's kind of started climbing now the ranks. Actually, no, like better Fox in the sense of the representation that he has for Portugal, like how much he's been helping bring the region. So there are teams there, but I do think that your angle at the problem with a lot of players, and it always comes down to this, and this isn't to one specific player. Every player thinks that they can do everything and they're fucking great. They can be the coach, they can be the manager, they can be the player, they can be the tactician, they can be the psychologist, they can do the best foot rub, they can suck dick. I don't care. But in that mentality comes that, oh, because I've played with the greats, because I've worked with them, I know what the fuck they're doing. No, you don't. Like you were 23, 24 at times, or even sometimes 35, and you don't have the life experience or have been through some shit. Some of these guys had their family members die, no, like not even trying to do it, but that's what shaped their career. That's why they're that fucking hungry. When you see the pre on stage, not that he's a leader, that tactician, but I guarantee you he's a leader to his team in that moment, right? So it's moments like that will it's bursts. What I can best explain is a career will never be summarized by either the peak or the consistency. How many bursts can you do of reaching the top? And in an IGL, that's gonna, like karrigan, he's not gonna be always the same style. He's gonna be adapting the team to him, and himself is gonna be adapting to the team. He has to learn as well. So it's kind of that humility to it, right? So in those crucial moments, when the situation comes, you're either gonna say, I'm the fucking guy, I can do this. Great, I love that. Now represent it, get in the server and fucking do it. Because if like, be a man about it. You say I'm gonna do it, do it. Or no, I still got a lot to learn. Like my life's still going. Let me just look at things a little bit all over around. Hey, what the fuck does this do? What happens when I touch this, kind of a thing, right? And go with it. So that's the process of becoming an IGL. There are some that are forced. There are some that are more naturally given. Again, some life just happens and they're either in the right team or something fucked up happened and they have to adjust to it.
Sure.
Many ways to come and happen to it, but the traits are the same, I think.
By the way, one thing I'll just throw in there as well is I think that, like, just like playing the game, another problem you always have when you watch is when you watch, you're in such a comfortable position mentally that you don't have the same pressure that you do as a player. It's the same with being an IGL. Like, I can tell you for real, any like actual like real top 10 IGL, like someone who's been to loads of lands and they've had results, anyone like that, if you took them and had them sit in a green room with you and watch a game without any pressure, they could like call the whole game. I'm not even joking. I'd be reading everything. Like I've done this before, and I had people like Sean Gares or someone sat there, and you're like, holy fuck, he knows everything they're doing. But the point is, he would even tell you, like, yeah, that's just because I'm sat on the couch with you, though, watching. Like, if I was in the game, I'd have different pressures, and maybe I wouldn't have the balls to make this call I said they should make there. So I also think that's like, just like with players where you underestimate, like, you know, the whole thing where everyone like watches Wonderful and Navi and they go, he's missing easy AWP shots. Like, they're not easy AWP shots. If you actually play at that level, mate, you get cooked. So similarly, like, there's a lot of people that, like, you might not think they're that great because of the results of their team, but there's a lot of smart people in the game. But it's more than just that. Like I say, you've got to have like poise. You've got to be able to do it in the moment.
I mean, you mentioned that. I think also from a fan point of view, let me just piss off everyone watching now, is I think that they are misconstrue what an IGL does. There was a player that actually, I think, posted this on X the other day. I think that they believe like AleksiB stands there and then he just says like all of these players are bots and he's like, you go here, you go here, you do this, you do this. And they think that that is what an IGL is doing. So they completely lack the understanding that like that's not exactly how it works. It's not someone taking full control and just telling you where to go, Zeus.
I mean, obviously, you know, honorable mention of karrigan.
No,
I mean,
But I think it's true, and even
Every
to him, like
episode.
I gotta apologize to him over that situation because I could have handled it better. Like I could have taken his side and at least given him a fair shot. It's like a
Sure.
better shot at it, right? Not saying again that it's what black or white or one way or another. As to like AleksiB, Thorin touched on a really interesting point, which is like the community is so dumb sometimes, and I don't say that in a bad way. It's just like from a lack of experience in life. If you
Yeah.
played any football, soccer, baseball, basketball, you know what it's like, one, in the locker room, two, when the match or like the game is live. Even if you're playing PE in school or something like that, like if one kid's gonna be more competitive, gonna get heated up.
Yeah.
What he's doing right there is settling the troops down. He's zeroing everybody down on one precision point. Yeah, he's snapping at one player, but the team just takes that. The amount of times I'll just go Brazilian just to not make shit worse. But I've seen like Fallen, Coldzera, myself,
Course.
Taco get into the heat of it. Like before the match, I'm like, dude, stop fighting, you guys. They're like, shut up, fat ass. What the fuck are you getting in here for? It's just how it happens in sports. It doesn't mean like that he's bad. I guarantee you, I think that the player, and I not guarantee you because never know, maybe he was at a really bad moment. But the player, after they reconciled, they fixed it, and they understood that in that moment is what they needed to focus on. Whether it was in the match and they won, or it was after in the review, I don't know.
Let's get into it now and start ranking these IGLs. So the idea was, because we constantly see these tier lists online, and that's like kind of a topic at the moment. It's mainly AWPers, but I figured IGLs would be fun because I find it more interesting. Let's get into AleksiB though, because he is the one that comes up all the time. I know Thorin rates him very, very highly. I mean, Thorin, if you were to rank him, I would say you would call him one of the best IGLs currently, right?
I mean, my problem right now is I'm actually in the sweet spot for being a biased fanboy because I can just choose between Alexi or karrigan. That's like
Karrigan?
choosing, like, what do you want for dessert? Like fucking ice cream sundae or like, fucking chocolate cake. Like, they're both really good. You can't lose, really, can you? Obviously, shout out to just back in the days, Zeus just used to have both. That's just a rude joke. Right then, so obviously, and I want both. I want to pick both. No, the real problem right now is whoever's team's better, I'm just going to say they're the number one. But I do think AleksiB is definitely like a candidate for best IGL. I mean, the obvious thing he has going for him even now is he doesn't have a Donker or Monacy. He doesn't have that player where, but it's where when we get to other people like Apex, I think they get underrated because they have zewu. People just look at that. And again, if you're a casual, you just watch what zewu's doing, what his crosshairs doing. The reason AleksiB and Blade, I think, get massive props in NAVI is, like, when you look at that team, I actually think the only player in that team that is like a generational talent is Bit. And he's not like a superstar player. Like, he's like a best anchor player or whatever, like he does like sort of like things that stabilize your team. So if you just look at how long they were successful in NAVI, by the way, so much of it seems to come from the calling style. And like, if you look at the way they play together as a team, these are all just hallmarks for me that the in-game leader must be doing a good job. And then also, believe it or not, even things like that comms segment, people forget, just like karrigan, this guy's always doing it with an international roster. He's not working with people from his culture and his background where they're all friends and they grew up together.
And he's Finnish.
Yeah, and also, yeah, by the way, he's also not like a super outgoing, mega like extroverted guy. He's a guy who would be like the quiet fucking, nerd working on some stuff. So he's had to develop that part. In some ways, by the way, I give him props for actually being quite non-Finnish in that sense. He didn't just sit back and take it. He's being a bit spicy, like battling these guys. So to me, I think he has to get top marks. I don't know if he'll be number one right now because now he's not in the best condition, but he's definitely always going to be in contention for that spot for me.
I think I'll go with. It's obvious. I agree on the top three, but I'll actually take consistency over the years. Recently, Aleksi doesn't get the fair chance, and karrigan would be the GOAT, but I have to skew recency right here into this top five. So I'll actually go Apex is the best IGL in the world right now for me.
Okay.
Consistency overall throughout the years and recent form. Yeah, I think underrated because not only zewu, he's had amazing superstars that outshine him, so people just outlook him. Even with players that have left his roster, it's always been like that. Even when they were underperforming and he kept delivering somehow. And he is the troop rallier, right? He's that guy who gets everyone fired up. He does have that leadership aspect, and one of the ones that you can prove that had the humility aspect because, hey, he since the beginning, entry fragger, one of the worst roles, like when that was
for sure.
still 100% a thing, like one of the visionaries along with Taco a lot in refining that role and then adapting, not because he wanted, but because of what happened again in his life and his story and building up the French scene. I'm sorry, when we got into the scene, French scene used to be something, it became nothing. He outlived the best, becoming nothing and building it up again. To me, that's fucking amazing.
Why do you think, though, that the fans will always tell you that Apex is a complete idiot? I mean, it's like a topic that comes up on HLTV and Reddit all the time. The poor guy can win a major and they'll just be like, nah, that dude's dumb.
It's because he has reactions. It's the same with karrigan in that sense. It's because he has reactions. So people assume that because he's being goofy that he's an idiot. No, it's like, no, it's actually quite the opposite. The fact that he's able to externalize his emotions in a way that actually leads his team instead of being the guy who's punching the table and fucking everybody up, that's even more points in zews' book.
By the way, I actually do unironically think that people even miss that, like, I'll give you a really weird example, but if you know the sport, you'll know what I mean. When Anderson Silva was like the best UFC fighter, he used to do that thing where he did what you call clowning, where you like let the guy almost hit you and you like have your hands down. And what people never understood was that wasn't just that he was like disrespecting the opponent. He did it a couple of times when he did like want to fuck with like Damian Maia or whatever. But actually, another thing is that was actually part of his style though, because what he would essentially do was make you think because he had his hands down that you could hit him. And he was the best counter puncher in MMA, so it was a way to actually enable the style he wanted to play. I actually do unironically think that Apex, he always used to be like the spicy guy who's doing all the extroverted shit anyway, but I actually think he uses it tactically as an IGL though, because if you notice, he doesn't just like randomly do it, right, just for no reason or just to be an entertainer. He does things like he actually does the old school psychological warfare. He like picks specific players to fuck with. Because another thing that's clever about how he does it is, believe it or not, it's more effective that Apex shit talks you when zews kills you than if zews did it. Because if zews did it, you're like, well, I have to give it up to him. He's the best. It's more annoying when it's like the IGL guy sat next to him. That's like when like it's not even the guy who's going to beat you up. It's like his little mate's going, hey, and my mate, kick your ass. It's like, will you shut the fuck up? You wouldn't like that. That's even. I think he uses that intentionally to fuck with like more inexperienced teams or like teams where they have like some shit hot player who's better than Apex, but he's not better than zews. Like I think he does that to sort of like mess with them and try and fucking throw them off their comfort zone. He doesn't just do it because he's just bantering or whatever, in my opinion. So I think there's even more there, mate. Because I'm with you. I do think Apex is going to always be the most underrated one because, first of all, he has zews. So people think zews just does everything. By the way, if you followed the last few years of Vitality, the fact that they're the best on T side actually implies Apex is doing a lot. Like, zews for me is a player on CT side, he'll dominate anyone. On T side, sometimes you can see he doesn't always know if he's going early on. Is he playing with the AWP? He's all over the place, that guy. So I think he actually does a pretty good job, like, herding Vitality players too. I actually do think that people always, because they do this in sports as well, if you have a bunch of really good players, they actually assume it just makes it easier across the board. It might make it easier in the sense you shoot people in the head in the game. It can actually be quite hard to like actually herd together a bunch of big superstars. That's really fucking hard. So yeah, I actually think that's underrated too, mate.
Oh yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the critique you can give a player like that is, yeah, if he doesn't win many trophies, then critique him. If they win the trophies, you must be doing something. You have to be. And I think Apex's T-side call will look great in CS2.
I always find it fascinating as well because I'm like, when people make these comments about Apex, and especially with the clouding and stuff, I'm like, did you ever play this game? Like, did you ever actually go and play? Like, this is how we spoke. We should talk each other. It's fun. It's part of the whole freaking thing. And this isn't even just in competitive Counter-Strike, right? It's in football as well, and rugby and whatever else. That kind of is part of competing. It makes it entertaining. And the guy is doing a great job. He does have fantastic pieces. I think it also pulls, like you mentioned, it pulls away a little bit of attention from his other players, so it alleviates pressure a bit, which is really positive. But I do want to move away from Apex because I don't know if it's controversial, but I'm curious because you gotta I want to put Chopper in the mix, and the reason I want to do that, hear me out. But hear me out. I know he has dunk, right? I know he has dunk, but some of his other pieces aren't great. He's not that great. But he finds a way to make it work. The guy is winning trophies, right? Surely we've got to give him a little bit of kudos, maybe?
Yeah, no, kudos definitely. I don't put because if we've been giving Apex shit for this long with the roster he's had, Chopper can take a little bit of proving a little bit more himself to reach the echelons of the greats right now, right? Because it's still too early and it's not consistent enough in my eyes to be considered a true era where I'd put him like, it's standing out to that point. I do think he's great in many ways. Form of speak, but like I think he's better karrigan in the sense that he will rally the troops and make one definitive decision, and the troops will follow. It's a little bit easier when you got Dunk leading the front line, but you work with the pieces you have. Again, right? It's about factoring in what you have. Chopper has been doing this since at least 2016. I remember playing him in Vega Squadron. I was filling in for Liquid, so that's how long he's been growing his IGL, I guess, perspective, insights, and know-how about working with different players. He's caught CIS region from NAVI again as well, break down internally, and then regrow with NAVI Junior, all these academy teams, all these newer, younger generations. And I'm, without knowing his history, but just guessing from the little history that I do know, his teams were always trampling teams to other teams. It's like he never got the really good end of it, I guess. Right. So the fact that he's held on so long and is still able to have the players and do that, another big angle for me. I think he can not only rally the troops. I think it's hard to know, but him and the coach are probably very much aligned because they do have set strats that stand out.
Yes,
I think that their set strats, their contexts are very decided. They know when to explode. Like it's not theoretically over complex Counter-Strike as you would see normally. Like I'll just always reference the Astralis era one, but it's really good team understanding and one really big vision that follows, and really good prep work, at least on between the IGL and the coach.
How do you feel about it though, Thorin?
The problem is, like, this is one where I have to be like a little bit of a hater, because at the end of the day, we are doing the absolute best. I'm not saying this guy sucks, but if we're picking people, there are people in worse teams that I would take over Chopper, just if I try to do things like figure out what pieces they have and where they're getting and how much are they getting out of those people. Like, essentially, the problem I have with Chopper is this. If you win as many tournaments as he has, it's like what I said before. You have to be doing something. You can't really be doing nothing. You're not an empty seat. It's not just don't go kill. But at the same time, I agree with what you just said there, Zeus. The problem in their team is theirs is one of those ones where I actually give maybe more of the props to the coach. Like the Halley guy seems like he does have a massive impact on their team. I've read loads of their interviews in their team. If you also look, they are one of those teams as well where it always looked like if they had like time to do a real boot camp and have like a week prep, they would just be way better than if they just went to like, the second tournament in a row and they'd had like an all right result in the first one. So essentially, it does make me wonder how much of like adaptation in the game and sort of like pure calling he's doing. With that said, from calling from a playbook, he looks like he's doing a very good job. Like if you're prepared and you have all that stuff. And then the other problem is, even though I said before, I don't do it as much to Apex, that's also because, as far as I can tell in Apex's team, like I say, Siuhy isn't just like an auto win player. Like you have to also sort of like guide him a little bit or coax like the beast out of him at times. You don't have to do it with Donk. Donk actually might be the most broken cheat code on T-side in the history of Counter-Strike. Like the guy actually can go first and just shoot two people in the head and open the round. Like if you've ever looked on HLTV at that stat that where they put like, if you get the opening kill, how often do you win the round? It's something like for most teams, like 70+%. Like that means if you're on the team of Spirit, like you should win the T side almost every time, it feels like, with that player. So it's not that you're not doing anything. You still have to do all the rest of the things and coordinate everyone else around him and the follow up and what happens when he dies. But I do think you've also got something no other player in Counter-Strike has. Like even if you think of the other great players in history, the closest maybe is like Nico when he was at his peak, because he would like kind of like take his own control on season. But people like Simple, they're shooting people, but they're not really just winning the round instantly. Like you have to do some things around them. So I'm a little bit of a hater on Chopper in that sense, but only in the sense I'm not going to put him like top 4 or 5 as IGL. He's just outside that for me.
The ugly truth is as well, I think, as Zeus went through his history and his career, if he didn't have Donk, he probably wouldn't be in the conversation at all, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's all,
Hey, I'll say this. I beat him when I played for Liquid. So.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're going to have to
bring And actually, by the way, even though you said at the beginning, you're right. If this was any other like 6-month period, it normally is just whoever the top 5 teams are. What order is it, those IGLs, right? Normally, this would be boring. I actually think this would be more edgy because, as we just said there, like Spirit probably is like the ironclad number 2, and I don't even have that guy top 5 on my list. And by the way, when you get to some of the names I do consider to round out my top 5, some people will lose their mind. Some people might be interested. I've got some edgy takes there. I've got a few for you. It's all good.
I'm pretty sure both of you have karrigan on your list. We're going to get the karrigan. Yeah, this show has become a fan club for karrigan. I'm starting to realize that's like a thing every second episode. We never say anything mean about him, Zeus. I'm just giving you a heads up right off the get-go. And we...
Look, he just choke away all those bloody major finals. He beats all the best teams and just pisses it away to all the underdogs. There's a million things you could do. Nico left him, so I don't know, maybe he's just not as hot as we all thought he was. But I don't know, keep going through the list. Yeah. He got kicked out of FaZe. He had to play for MOUZ.
It's obviously his wife that's doing it because she's making Apogee good, so it's obviously her doing him as well.
There you go. Right.
No, I don't like this. Okay, but let's talk about karrigan.
And he's carried by his wife, sports psychologist, exactly. So
there we go. Yeah, that's all of his success.
That's the one time, Zeus, that I want the girlfriend interfering with the team.
You had to.
Forget that one. Forget that one.
Yeah, you had to. Yeah.
It's all good. Forget that. Maybe that's where they got it from.
Maybe there's some back group chats going on. Maybe I'm aware.
Whatever.
I knew it was going to go there at some point.
Yeah,
I
it's all
just
good.
didn't know where. I was
It
just
wasn't
waiting.
me. Come on.
It wasn't you this time.
I mean, it's going to be even more awkward later when my 5th pick is Twistzz. So
Oh, that's gonna be awesome. Please do.
Let's just break it down though. Why does karrigan get spoken about the way he does? I mean, what is it about karrigan's style that just leads us to consistently bring him up as one of, I would say, one of the best IGLs in the last few years, to be honest, Zeus?
Well, more than few years. Like I remember this guy from 1.6 still fragging out, and the fact that he just survived here would have been amazing. The fact that he did it when I'll always just relate to my personal experience. When I came in, I remember being at E-League and he's getting kicked from FaZe, ironically at the time, because they thought he wasn't good enough. And then he comes back and does the dynasty. And I consider it a dynasty because it's not one roster. It's a dynasty because it's mini roster. So it's the karrigan dynasty. It speaks for itself. So to not overdo it, and I'll let Duncan and you elaborate on him and Fangirl, but I respect the shit out of him because of that longevity and what he's done with many rosters. And from the many times that I've talked with him personally, right? I think what I've said about what I see as good IGLs exemplifies most of the things that I see in him.
I mean, Thorin, for you, you've said a lot about karrigan, but you can say something.
sure. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I actually think one of the classic qualities he has is why he's been in so many teams is he is one of the most immediate floor raisers I've ever seen for any IGL. Like, when this guy walks into your team, it's like you immediately are in the playoffs. Like, that's not even a discussion. Like, the question then becomes, like, how many months before you can, like, win a tournament? Like, also, if you look over his career, it already was the case, like Zeus said. There's no other... What's funny is, he almost got to be, like, the GOAT IGL just by being the only one left. Like, all of his rivals eventually themselves are just like out of the tournament watching him in the majors still competing for the title. Like, if we go back in different times and periods, people are going to say Fallen or Glaive or Pronax, or you can go whatever area you go. The difference is though, they all just have like 2 or 3 years where they're right at the top. Then they have the period where it's not as good, and some of them are irrelevant now, or some of them like don't even play the game anymore. He's still here, still competing today for #1 title. Like, he was literally 2 rounds from winning a major like a few months ago, and the guy is in his like mid-30s at this point in time. Like, it's unbelievable. The longevity is impossible. And then I've always thought the ultimate example of the fact that, like, whereas every other IGL, you can do all those critiques we did of the other people there, like, well, they had this star, or, but you're working with these people, but what about this coach? This is the only guy where he's just the one piece he put in these teams, and then they eventually all work. Like, there is no other connecting factor. Yeah, he has Nico years ago, then he has Rops at one point. Now he doesn't even have Rops anymore now. He just, whoever he has, he makes work. And I've always thought the ultimate example of that was, it's not even a meme. He actually is just like, almost like a magician at working with standings. It doesn't even make sense, bro. He doesn't just make the standings work. He wins the events with them. That doesn't even make sense. Like, normally that's the excuse to not win the event is you haven't got your real lineup. Like, the guy has some sort of a genius for how to work with people's abilities. Because I've always thought, if you ever hear how he talks in interviews, he's a very, very honest person, actually. He really is doing that thing where, even though if you look at all his resume, he could have a massive ego, by the way, and be like, I'm the reason all these teams were. As far as I can tell, even when he gets a lineup like this year, when he gets a new player like AleksiB that he hasn't worked with, he really goes to that player and tries to figure out, how am I going to make you the best you can be? Which is like, that's really hard, bro. There's a lot of people like, I have my system and you're going to fit in here, or, you know, in our team, this person's the top dog and then he gets to eat afterwards and you're going to be on this. You never feel like that in a karrigan team. You always feel like he's somehow like working to find some blend of all the players. And I've seen people where they've won more tournaments, or maybe their pure calling looked like it was more high level tactically, but no one's ever done it for as long with as many different players. And then also you think of like, the joke is people forget he started out with the Astralis players and that he's Danish. The majority of his career now is with all the international lineups. And by the way, he basically invented that. Before him, international lineups where you go when things don't work in your career. Now everyone is an international lineup. I even think people like AleksiB, you should literally like just thank fucking karrigan. He's the reason you can have this job and not have to be in the Finnish scene and having a look for the next guy to play with Alu or something. Like, everyone's an international team now, I think, because of karrigan.
That's an angle I hadn't thought about, but I think that's true. Right? It was MOUZ Sports, I think, that he went, right? So that's kind of crazy, because he did, I think, in a sense, create it, because in the beginning there were other teams that tried to do it, but no one was able to. That was the angle back then. That's what I remember. It's like, oh, international teams fucking suck because you can't get them to work together. So yeah, he did kind of like solve the piece, at least a major piece of the puzzle there, and was able to replicate it. And I think like he's a big part of the reason not a big part, but he's a big confirmation of like the reasons why over the 20 like 2 decades, over 2 decades and a half of Counter-Strike that I've been either playing or watching, why some of the assumptions that I make at least feel confirmed. Because he's played different styles. I remember him playing structured. I remember him playing free Counter-Strike. I remember him playing YOLO. I remember him with stand-ins, Chroman, bigger examples of crazier upsets that weren't supposed to happen. Stewie, he like loves Stewie. Jake's been there forever, but they're not supposed to win that event, and they win that event because he makes the room feel better. It all ties back to that initial point that I made, I think, in the opening. I remember when Russ and I were still like on really good teams. I was smoking a cigarette back then, and we were outside one of the FaZe rooms. I think it was one of the I forget which event, but it was like the prac room, and there's this outside garden area, and I'm just smoking there, talking to Russ, just like trying to figure out. And we see the other teams because it's like in the center of the garden, and all around are all the prac rooms. We look into FaZe, and he's telling me how it was, and we just see like Uno decks all around the prac room. You see like there's food and pizza. It's none of that crazy eat healthy, like live die by this shit. They're just people. They understand, at least from what it looks like, that whatever they can do, that's what they're gonna try to do. They're not gonna like make it out to be bigger or the end of the world or be emo or be extra happy about it. They regulate themselves with their emotions, and when things get tense, sometimes it's about playing Uno. And when things are getting sloppy, sometimes it's about let's fucking sit down and focus and get to what's going. And that's when you're gonna see that natural thing that happens in every CS locker room, which is 1 or 2 players are sitting looking at the PC. Everyone just starts. You see chairs going around. He built that culture, so it's never about what one thing he's doing right. He's creating an environment that is susceptible to grow, win, wealth, leadership, or whatever you want. He's not focused on the small things of making everyone perfect. He just makes an environment that, hey, it's easy to flourish naturally and for it to become that.
By the way, I'll also throw out there as well, I think that what he has done in this last FaZe era, where every lineup, even though they keep changing one of the players, has this like crazy like clutch ability on stage, that is from him. And the reason that is so admirable is, remember, that is what he didn't have when he was in the Astralises of the world in the original FaZe clan. They used to be the team that like should win the tournament, but then they'd like fail in the big moment on stage and people got nervous. He's not only turned that around in his own life, like we joke about the sort of psychology thing. As far as I know, he does credit some of this to his wife and like things he sort of like being able to conceptually get through with her. Like, that is one of the most valuable things you could ever have as an IGL. Like, think about this last major. This last major, they were never supposed to do that run. Like, this isn't like when they were like a top 3 team, but he just does a great. They were like, on paper, they were supposed to lose to like almost everyone on their side of the bracket, and they were 2 rounds from winning the whole major. And that would have been like a robbery, by the way. They had no business winning that tournament. Like, by the way, Robs probably leaves even if they fucking win that tournament. Like, they clearly were not happy internally. So to create the atmosphere where all these players who themselves are veterans just feel like comfortable in big stage matches where you can do all these crazy players where you're like fucking with the opponent who's better than you. That I've never seen anyone else do that. Like, I've seen people be the best IGL or the best team or they work really awesome in terms of calls, but there's some, that's essentially, isn't that why everyone's a karrigan fan? It's because of the FaZe magic, isn't it? When they get to the stage, anything's possible. It's why they're all the best matches, even if they lose. It's the best match is the FaZe match, right?
It's a pleasure to watch their matches. Sorry, please go on.
No, I mean, it's exactly that, right? They bring a level of entertainment that you just don't get anywhere else. And you always believe, I've always said that, like, it doesn't matter how badly the scoreline looks, you always believe that they can come back. But now let's get into the fun bit, controversial bit, because I mentioned to both of you beforehand that I wanted you to make a list of your top 5 IGLs right now. Thorin is ready. I mean, but Zeus, let's start with you. Your top 5 IGLs right now.
Short and sweet. I'll go with what I basically went right. The top 3. So it's Apex. Gotta go with that. I'll put AleksiB in second, and karrigan in third, just from, as I said, current form.
Okay.
Right. Just from a current form standpoint. If it was a GOAT, I couldn't even compare. 4th and 5th. I'm gonna go and actually do say that I do think Maka is up there right now.
Okay.
I do think he's top 5 performing right now in terms of what he's performing himself and what he's putting out there. 4th, 5th, this gets hard. I will say Russ is probably the most fitted one to be in there just from the numbers that he puts up himself, because he himself is, even with all shit going on, he's still an insane fragger.
Oh, he's still really good, yeah.
He's still like so talented. He still knows the game. He still gets going on. So even though I shit on him on Sneak and Banter, I am going to put him there as a 5th place, but for category placeholder. He's not that right now.
Okay.
I think it's bullshit. I think he can get there, so that's what's expected.
Okay.
And then I'll say it's because the rest of the fucking scene as a whole, if I'm forgetting somebody, sorry, but we need people to stand out right now. So I'm not putting Russ there as a cop-out. It's just because he's just better than everyone, and I'm not seeing too many people stand out to me. And if that's worth a damn, you decide yourselves.
Okay.
Do you think Twistzz has a future, though, from an IGL perspective? Do you think that this is a role he stays in? Because obviously there's always conversation about how he should move out of the IGL role because they feel like the fragging ability there.
Right? There has to be. I have to believe in some way that there's always a future. I'm going to give an example that, like, in my egomaniac way or whatever it is, Ultimate shut me up because I said he was supposed to be out, not because I'm stupid and I don't think, it's just because I see CS differently. There's many ways in which you can create a team. karrigan's a living proof of that. If you want to play without the op, I'm sorry, I can do it and I can get you. Like, I was able to do that once. You can replicate that shit. It's not about that. It's about the grit, what you're mentioning. It's about having that. I have to believe that. And for Russ, if I said that in an interview before, it's because some part of me somewhere believes it. Right now, I don't, because I just think he's full of himself. He's emo and he's a dick. Fuck it. I don't give a shit. But he can get there. He can get there and he should, because it's a waste, because he's so fucking good. I've never seen someone so mechanical. I've never seen someone who actually has a good heart and is just fucking blind and stupid. So that's how I feel and how I think. Every time I get in here, I end up going on a rant, but it's because I feel passionate about this shit. Fuck this, right? So 5th is him. I hope he gets to it. If he doesn't, at least prove me wrong. At least the Polish guy and his team is doing something about it.
Okay.
I like the passion. This is what we want. This is why we all freaking love CS. And I prefer it if you're a little bit... this is something that, like, I mean, this is off on a tangent, but I always find it interesting when people get upset about folks just, like, speaking from the heart like you just did. And I'm like, that's what it's all about, right? It is about having that sort of passion. And you still gave kudos there, so good on you. Now, let's hear the weirdest list. I'm pretty sure this is going to be... I'm waiting.
I was just being sarcastic. There's no universe where Twistzz... he doesn't even get to look at my list. He gets to hear it now like a fan, but you don't even get to be part of the list being made in any context. Like, the only Twistzz are the other people I picked, not you. No way. And then when you ask, does he have a future? Well, yeah, in the sense that in the futures market, I'll be shorting him as an IGL. That's just a finance bro joke there. Not bad. So, okay. I don't give a fuck.
You're shorting.
Yeah, here's the thing. Twistzz is a really good player. The problem, and by the way, he's not even a terrible caller, but he just so clearly, to me, does the type of calls that is a secondary caller, like job. So the stupidest thing to me is this. It's like Nico. It's like, bro, just get an IGL in and you can still do most of those secondary calls in the mid rounds. It'll just work. Like, but you'll just have more to your team. Like, you'll actually win because you're really good. No, here's
it's
the thing.
Coldzera. It's the Coldzera to the Fallen.
Yeah,
it's how it's supposed to be.
AleksiB. This happened a million times. Yeah. So basically, it's a classic. That's why I don't even blame him. Put it this way, tons of superstar, all-time great players have made the same mistake. You have to do it, like Device, you have to do it once just to know that it's not for you, basically. So once he's got out of his system, it'll all be good in 6 months or whatever when they get a different IGL. We'll all just be enjoying him being a HL TV top 20 player. So no, my top 3 is quite similar. I'm going to do like AleksiB, Apex, karrigan. I could do those almost in any order, but I might do that order overall. Then, this is where it gets spicy. So even though what's hilarious now is this doesn't even make sense in terms of our characters. Number 4, I'm putting biguzera from Pain there. I'm not even trolling.
Oh, shit.
I actually do think...
Yeah.
I actually do think, first of all, he actually does himself like a better version of what Twistzz... He can frag an actually IGL. It's actually very impressive. Because normally when people frag in the IGL, I just think it's like the twisting of like, you're getting yours because you can be a star. And then you're like secondary going, oh, and I have to call for people. This guy actually does it where I always used to think Glaive was excellent at this. He gets his frags within the floor of the round as an IGL. Like, that's really hard to do. Like, when people can do that, I always give them big props. Then when I look at their squad, it's actually the one critique I have of biguzera is I just wish he wouldn't just only stay on Pain Gaming. Like, I wish he could be on Fury or one of the best teams. Because when I look at his squad, I don't think they have quite enough firepower, personally. Like, they have some good players. Like, I actually do think that, like, a couple of the players are pretty good. The problem is, like, the Cowers guy only just got kicked recently. He wasn't a very good player. And then Snow is literally 17 years old. This is hard to get a team like this and go like a semi-final of a tournament. Like, you see what in the server, by the way, this team Pain is in so many 3-map series where they lose like 13-11 on the 3rd map or overtime. Like, so I think this guy has his team in position over and over and over again. I think he just does a really good job. Again, I can't know anything within the team of how they're doing it, but I just look at his players. I'm like, mate, I wouldn't expect these players to do anything. Like, you have like 1.5 players I even think are good. good. Like, the fuck? Even the joke is, even the NQZ guy only is really getting his props from this team. Like, before that, no one was ever telling me he should, like, replace Fallen in fucking Fury or something. Like, he gets his props because of what happens in biguzera's team. And then my fifth one, this isn't as crazy. It's just I think people forget this guy. It's going to be Blitz from the Mongols. By the way, another guy who can frag and fucking IGL at the same time. It just seems like, by the way, it's harder to be the low fragging karrigan type IGL at the moment in CS2. You have to have some fragging. But this guy, if one thing I really love about this guy is, remember what I said at the beginning when I tried to like define very simply in IGL, is I want them to have a really distinct, cohesive style of play that then they like impart to the other player. This guy fucking nails that, mate. Like, this is the ultimate guy where if you look at his teams, they are like the fucking, they hit like a timing window and they just fucking go for it. They just that go button that they have is really impressive. And I can tell you, it's not, anyone who's even played a fucking POG knows this. The hardest thing in Counter-Strike is to get the T's to actually go into the bomb site. No one wants to die. No one wants to be the one who goes first to get shot in the head or flashed. So this guy has, everyone just goes. When he tells them jump, they don't say how high, they just jump. Like, it's fucking perfect. And so you can have your critiques of the Mongols, but I think he's one of the best parts of it, mate. He looks fucking dope.
Hasn't it always surprised you? I've brought this up before, though, with the Mongols as well, and I do think that credit has to go to the IGL and the coach as well. Like, their region it's not massive. Like, and I presume the talent pool is probably a little bit shallow, and it always blows my mind when they did that roster change. I was like, how the hell did they actually find talent? Like, that's always my
Especially
thing.
because remember, two of those players, Senzu and Mazinho, are really young. I think they're both like teenagers still or something. They're like, these aren't like super expensive. Like, I'm actually giving like a break to people like Snow and Payne. In this scenario, this is like if Snow was your best player, like that would be insane.
So it is a little bit mental, like what they've been able to do. And I do think that maybe it doesn't get nearly enough credit. Also, probably needs a little bit more time, because I think that the more we've seen the Mongols play, the better that they get. So, like, more of that stage time is probably going to make a huge difference.
I will say, look, if I was Chopper and I was watching this, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I'm fucking winning all the tournaments and everything. Sorry, Thorin. You did. Sorry, mate. You just don't get to be top. I just say no. Thorin says no. The survey says no.
Oh, man.
See, you didn't realize that, those zews. I want to know what you think. I actually brought a Brazilian to the fucking table.
Yeah, you
didn't
did.
see that coming, did you?
You have my mind. You have my mind like going in circles right now. It's like expanding and coming back. The obvious ones that I missed. The Mongols one I wrote down, I didn't get to research it in time, so I can't even fact check you on that. I can say what I watched, and so I will never know if it's the IGL or not. But they are fucking flying. I love seeing them, and you're right. The two youngins are just insane. Like, it's so fun to watch them play, right?
Yeah,
Plus, they are enjoying themselves. As for biguzera, it just goes to show a few things. One, you're right. Like, I missed something completely under my nose because I thought about it, but I think in like my emotion and my just flabbergasted and let everything go, you want to make a point and you end up over blurting something or making something just for showcase. Guess what, people? It's cameras. That's how it works. But you're right. biguzera has done a lot for this fucking region, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves. And one, I was checking out his Mauisnake leaving interview today. I'm with you. I don't think he performed as well, but even in the way he leaves, he's one of the very few people that I saw leaving in like the Brazilian scene, and he's leaving through the front door. It seems like it was communicated through the operation, but through the play, through the IGL, through things. There was no back door. There was no zews. We find out in Brazil. There was not, like, Mauisnake was communicated through it out. And it's like, it's not a what happened to me thing, but unfortunately in our business, that is one of the biggest things that ends up happening is like, there's a lot of back talk. Like it's the Steam messaging, team speak. It just like that happens too much. So when you see a team that breaks up and normally the biggest thing isn't in what's being said, it's normally in what's not being said. When you see the players shut up on Twitter, because players like to talk and they're all quiet, guess what? Shit was bad in their team, guys. They are not saying something because they want to kill each other, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah.
So when you see something good like that, more props to biguzera, and he's done it throughout more times. I do think that I'll expose something personal here, since I'm making a habit of this right now. He's a guy that I know that has a personal life that roots him to Brazil. So he made a choice. I remember, like, at least when I was in Fluxo, from what I heard from the other teams and from the players, because you always have to keep your ear on what's going on, he was building around his family, his wife, his children. He's planning for that long term. So the fact that he stayed on Pain is actually like it's one of the rare times, because I'm with you. I wanted Kiserato and Liquid with me, not only just to see, but to see if he can actually fucking be the guy that we want. And for I will be the first guy to criticize that, because I have spent 9 years of my life kind of like on the road, just doing this. It's what I wanted to do, and I like even though it's part of the reason why I had a fucking heart attack. I do not trade it for anything because I chose it and I did it with like full intent, fully gave myself. And I criticize anyone that doesn't do that because I'm just competitive. I like winning. When I was on that stage seeing glitter fall for Fnatic, I was pissed. But when it was for me, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. I want your mom crying, not mine. My mom's crying here because she's happy, not because she's sad. Like your mom's over there sobbing, not mine right now. So that's the competitor in me. So I would normally say that, but now a little bit wiser, trying to get married myself, I get it. I couldn't at that point in my life, I couldn't bring myself to settle for less than trying to see if I could be world champion. And luckily for me, the stars, Mars, Jupiter, everything lined up. I had the right people by my side at the right time. Great community that helped support. Like my mind was in the right place because I, again, burst. There's moment when Zeus was the great coach and I was probably the best coach in the world, guys. Guess what? Sorry if you don't like it. But there's moments when I fucking suck. That's kind of the world. Again, life is cyclical. Like get used to it. Like that's how you go. So again, big rant, big points, but I do see value in that. And I think biguzera deserves credit. So yes, it was when I'm saying, oh, it's Twistzz on 5th. No, fuck yeah, biguzera is up there on that list. Fuck yeah, Blitz should be on that list. It's just getting things off my chest. It's just whatever's going on in my mind at that moment. And in this moment, it says, fuck yeah, biguzera, let's go.
By the way, the thing you're mentioning there, I've actually told this on talk shows before because it wasn't like some secret. That, as far as I know, that is basically how he thinks as well. He is thinking on some sort of like a Tabson and big level of like, I'm not just going to leave my team to go to another squad, like, you know, or like modern players like mercenaries. They just want to be on the top team. Like you say, get the chance to win the trophies, and that's what you care about. When I asked this guy, I basically DM'd him once last year and was just like, bro, surely you get offers. Like, why don't you just go to another team? And he basically just said like, oh, I have had offers, but I'm just not going to leave this team. And it's like, look, if that's their like express goal, it's not something, you know, they just didn't have a choice, so they couldn't go anywhere elsewhere. If someone says basically, no, this is my project, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to bring people to me and build it. I do judge it on a different level. Like I respect that. I think that's actually quite an admirable thing. I'm a Zeus in the modern day. Almost everyone else would just be like, I'll just go to whatever the best team that pays the most is. They're not even thinking about what am I building or what culture do we have in this team. So he's almost a bit of an old school IGL in that sense to me. Like that's kind of like a real leadership figure. I fuck with that.
Yeah, same. I agree.
Also seems, by the way, like a very chill guy as well. It comes off very, very well in interviews, mate. Like, this guy doesn't ever seem like he's angry or fucking on some bad space. He always seems like he's in like a very good headspace. I don't know the guy at all. I only know him from watching him on camera pretty much.
I also like the fact that, like, you're talking there about, like, building family and him thinking about the future. If you're a good IGL, you're bringing in this young talent, you raise them up, especially in pain, even if you're selling on young talent, making a lot of money, showing the organization you can do that. It's a nice stepping stone into coaching, because you've been able to show what you can do in the game, and then you can kind of move into a coaching position if you're thinking long-term career-wise, which could also be something that works in his favor. But I don't want to stop the show without touching on the big talking point this week, and they're going to play in like the next 5 minutes if they haven't started already.
Come on.
Oh, what?
I am a Siuhy fan, right? I have loved him forever. I was so upset about MOUZ getting rid of him, but when they did, they obviously won a trophy. The argument could be that they just had a firepower upgrade, and now when they go up against the big teams, it's not going to matter. And yet, it seems like it's going reasonably well for them. So, where do we rate Siuhy? And has your opinion of him as an IGL changed since you've started seeing MOUZ without him, Thorin?
See, the problem is if we made this list last year, I would have given him one of the 5 spots. Here's the thing. I was never the one to, like, if people will notice with me is I don't genuinely, though, try to, like, overrate IGLs. Like, for example, AleksiB only gets to actually be #1 in the world when, like, NAVI actually was winning fucking tournaments. Even before that, I might have put him on my old top 5 list years before, but that would have been more of an edgy pick, like a biguzera or a Blitz pick now. So the thing is, if it was last year, because of the results, I think you have to put Siuhy in the top 5. Like, you look at how inexperienced some of his teammates were. Also, by the way, in a weird sense, this might sound counterintuitive, but the fact that they actually also did have issues on stage implies to me, like, it's not just like the players do everything in that scenario. Like, you obviously do something as well in the group stages when there isn't the pressure. Like, you must have, I actually thought he looked like he had pretty good control over his team. If you look how they played the T sides out, etc. You look how strong their map pool was. They were able to like cycle through all the maps throughout the years. They matched up against pretty much every single team in the world. Like, there was, even if FaZe like always beat them, they could beat Spirit. They could like match up with Vitality and NAVI. So these are all, again, hallmarks to me that you must have, because remember, he didn't have super experienced players. He didn't have like some mega veteran. Like, the most old school player on his team is Brolan, who actually still has like a youthful vibe about his game. So to me, I think Siuhy last year definitely would be on there. The problem now is like no one even knows if he's going to play. Like the most disturbing thing to me is I thought all they were waiting for was let's just wait until like someone's going to buy him soon, one of the teams that's in trouble, and then we'll all tell you the real reason why he was not in MOUZ spots anymore. No one even knows right now. Like Ryan, it's just like radio silence, isn't he? Just like fucking locked in a broom closet somewhere with a fucking gag in his mouth and a robot. That's not me. That's you. And just like fucking Spinks or something wearing his face or something as a mask. Like who the fuck knows what's going on in this team? So right now, sadly, I have no idea. Like because also that does make me worried that like. What's the real reason? I just need to know the reason, please. Tell me what's in the box. What's in the box? I just need to know the reason. It's not even about whether it was right or wrong. I'll get into the drama later. Just please let me know what happened. What happened? I need to know. It's killing me.
Oh my god, I'm on the same boat as you because I have to know what's going on. Last year faced off against him quite a lot. Newcomer to me, right? I'm way too old, so when I came back to coaching for Liquid. Didn't know much about him, got to know really close in the sense that, yeah, he's good. He was good. That MOUZ sports team reminded me kind of like that TSM team in the beginning where before they were Astralis, right? So always getting close, not enough experience, choking a little bit, and especially in playoffs, again, like the stage, it's a different thing. They were even overcoming it towards the end of when I was about ready to leave. So I rated him highly. I rated MOUZ highly. And as soon as I saw all this going on, I thought they were going to be shit. And they were for a brief, fast tournament, and now it's picking back around. So got to reevaluate. I just, being from the outside, knowing nothing, I'm going to take stabs at what it could be. Community, always, young kids, right? If there's this good in front at this age, they didn't have much of a social life growing up. So, of course, social media is going to be a big thing. They rose up quickly. The community started looking at them really good. One of them started seeing they were better than the other. Guess what? One of them leaves the team. Now, who's on the right side? Guess what? Neither of them, because they blew up something that was actually good. So that's my take on it. It's the winner is none because they blew it up. It doesn't matter. They had something good, and now they couldn't fuck it up because guess what? Just like when FNX left or when I left or something like that, sometimes it really is just one piece and everything falls apart. And we're not seeing now because teams take more than 3 months to, at least 3 to 6 months to at least start showing something before you can actually have a macro perspective and see what they did over time, not just like one tournament burst. So yeah, I still think he's good, but I at least throw up the theory that maybe he got full of himself because we did hype him up a lot as a community.
Also, we must on some level be giving him props because it's not like we put Brolan in the list.
We didn't.
We're saying it's because of Brolan. We're just saying it's just because the rest of them fragged. Yeah,
no, but it's what you said. It was just because he's out of sight right now. It's literally that. It's just he doesn't pop in the radar because he's not there. But as soon as he pops up, he's going to be one of the main pings. That's obvious.
Yeah.
I realized that there was something I completely overlooked. So I do have to bring this up. I know I said we were ending, but this is important. Is Maui's hate of snax justified?
The way you phrased it like that, though, you could have just said, like, why isn't snax on your list? But you're just like, hey, Zeus, do you want to get hated on even more? Just say some shit about a legend. I know, like,
let's go with that. No.
So, hey, Zeus, why does snax suck?
Hey, so you trying to get Poland to hate me like they hate this guy? What the fuck is this? No, I'm okay with this move.
And to be fair, at least it was snax. I was worried she was going to like crowbar Fallen in here again. It's like, look, listen, that ship sailed. Even he would come on and criticize himself at this point. No, I do think that's an interesting point, though, because here's the problem. I actually think this is where Maui's sort of being hated for being like, it's like he's just saying the harsh truth. Is that, first of all, snax is a legend of CS, so no one wants it to be that he's not doing a great job. But there's two parts I have a problem with. One, you're in too good a teammates. Like, if you're in a team like a G2 or Vitality FaZe, we don't accept, like, the playoffs. That's not good enough. And then secondly, when you have not just Mauisnake, mate, he has like a pretty good roster of players now. Even when Nico, by the way, if Nico can leave your team and you still have a pretty good roster of players, like, you have to give me some results sooner or later. You know what I mean? So my problem is, I don't think that he's like terrible, but I do know why Maui harps on about him, because when I watch their team, if you watch this tournament right now, Mauisnake was doing like insane, like old school simple shit where he's just hard carrying. One of the reasons you look at their team and they don't win sometimes, and they do look at if they have uninspired calling, or they have times where they run out of shit to do, or the T side just stalls completely, and some of that has to be on him, I have to figure.
Oh man, my take on this, it's not gonna be as crazy as you thought, but it's probably gonna make me even more hated. That's the fucking
Go for
sucky
it.
angle for me. But it's how I see it. I agree. He's a legend. He's done all this. But the problem with G2, and I think that's the Maui angle and that's the community angle, is exactly like back when I was in Liquid, I thought Mauisnake was the best player in the world. Not Donk, because he wasn't even on the not on the radar, but he's just starting to show up. There's like one
Yeah, of
Katowice
course.
starting to go, things like that. So I wanted Mauisnake all the way. And the way I looked at him was like, I wasn't on the community hate train of Hooksy because I felt bad for the guy. But it's exactly what you're saying. It's the caliber of team that we're dealing with. Like, I used to say when I was retired that when I didn't think I'd come back or that Liquid would make me an offer or something like that, I'd only ever come back for like 2 teams. And I used to say like for 3, it was Liquid, G2, and FaZe. I'm like, for those, I'll make an exception. I'll go for this shit. Other than that, I'm done with this, right? And that says a lot already about, I guess, 90% of what this should be. So I don't know. Snax he's on a team with Taz. 2 of them are there. I don't see how both of them are the leader. That's what I come down to it. And I think that's what's going to make me hate it because both of them are legends. And either of them could work if Taz was pure cranial coach who has strats up the ass. And Snax is going to be that guy who's the Polish guy who's actually still bringing that Virtus Pro era thing mentality to it. Nice. But if both your angles are that and the strats aren't there and then the hype isn't there and like all the other, then that makes it rough. And base right now, I'd keep Taz because he's been there and he's shown more improvement. I don't think it's fair to Janus to Snax because he hasn't had enough time, but it's enough time where, again, if Wilton is saying it, yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I get it. If Zeus, the coach, was recommending to an organization, like, no, get this done and get me someone real in here that can frag and actually live up to the expectation that Maui and the rest of the community see, because, yeah, you have Mauisnake, you have MOUZ now, but you had Nico before, you had all this shit. We just want to get going.
I was just using Maui for the clickbait little clips
No,
for people to watch this video.
It's fitting that someone does that to him.
There we go. We're done having this conversation. I have to go to work now, but we want you to give us
What's
your list
this?
of your 5. This is my fun work, and then the real job starts in a
Okay.
little bit. There we go.
Hey,
Bye,
we're the
IGLs.
fun part.
Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you soon.